Hello students and welcome in the online session of class 9th Science chapter 3 Atoms and Molecules. This is the first video of the lesson and let us see what we'll cover today. We'll learn about atoms and molecules, the laws of chemical combination in which two laws have to be studied. One is law of conservation of mass and the other one is law of constant proportions. Then we have to study about Dalton's atomic theory, its postulates and its drawbacks. So let's start first with the history of atoms and molecules. So here some of the views of some great persons in the ancient time about the matter or about the atoms and molecules are shared. So first of all we'll see about Maharishi Kannad. The picture is also shown here. So in 500 BC this Indian philosopher said that matter is divisible. Matter can be divided. Okay, any substance which can occupy space which has mass is called matter, and it can be divided into small particles, and he gave the name to these small particles as Parmanu. So, according to him, the matter is divisible and can be divided into small particles which are called as Parmanu. Then, in the same year, one Greek philosopher, Democritus and Leucippus, the pictures are shown here. So, they also put the same idea that matter is divisible and those small particles which are got after dividing matter are called as atoms. They gave the name atom, and they also said that this atom is an indivisible particle, it cannot be divided further. Then during the same era an Indian philosopher Pakhuda Kattayama said that atom may not exist in free state. So according to this Indian philosopher, atom cannot exist in free state. It is always found in combined form. And when atoms combine together, they form compounds. Okay, so according to Pakhuda, the atoms cannot exist in the free state. They are always found in the form of compounds. Fine. Now let us move further and study about the law of chemical combination. So, whenever reactants react together to form the products, we know that whenever a chemical reaction occur, reactants combine together and they form the products. Okay, so this is reactant 1 suppose, and this is reactant 2. So when they combine they form a new product. Okay, or you can say that one element when combined with another element, it forms a compound. In this format also you can write, but whenever such chemical reactions occur, then they always follow certain laws, and these laws are called the laws of chemical combination. Okay, because a chemical reaction is occurring, two chemicals are combining together, that's why these laws are called the laws of chemical combination. Now in this chapter you have to study about two different laws of chemical combinations. One is the law of conservation of mass, and the second is the law of constant proportion. So this is the classification as you can see. Now let's move on to the law of conservation of mass. So this law was given by Antoine Lavoisier. You can, if you can't remember the complete name, you can learn Lavoisier. So this law was given by Lavoisier in 1774. So according to this law, mass can neither be created nor be destroyed. Okay, mass of the reactants, mass of the products cannot be created or destroyed in a chemical reaction. In other words, what we can say, if it is not destroyed or if it cannot be created, that means that the total mass of the reactants is always equal to the total mass of the product. Okay, so according to law of conservation of mass, whenever a chemical reaction is occurring, the total mass of the reactants is always equal to the total mass of the product. That means there is no loss or no gain in case of mass. So we can learn it with the help of one example. So here in the example it is given that calcium carbonate is a substance which is decomposing. So when it decomposes on heating, when we'll heat it, it will decompose. So after decomposition, it gives two products. One is calcium oxide and the other one is carbon dioxide. Okay. Now if we take 100 grams of calcium carbonate, okay, so we have taken 100 grams of calcium carbonate and we are heating it. So calcium oxide is formed 56 grams and CO2 formed will be 44 grams in the reaction. And if you now see the mass on the reactant side and the mass on the product side, so what is the reactant? Calcium carbonate. What is the gram taken here? It's 100 gram. And what about the product side now? Calcium oxide formed is 56 grams and carbon dioxide formed is 44 grams. And now if you add these masses of the products, you will again get 100 grams. That means the total mass of the reactant is always equal to the total mass of the product. So this proves the law. Okay. So let us see one more example here. You can see here methane combines with oxygen and gives CO2 and water. Okay. Now how to find the grams here? You can see here CH4 is the formula. So for carbon, the atomic weight is 12. For hydrogen, it's 1. But you can see here that there are 4 hydrogens. Okay. So it is multiplied by 4. So it comes to 4. And now you will add, so 12 plus 4 comes to 16 grams. How to find for oxygen? So one oxygen, it is 16, right? And here it is O2, so it comes to 32. And two molecules are there, so 2 into 32. Okay. Then here for carbon dioxide, for carbon it is 12, and for O2, now you have find for O2 it is 32. Okay, so 12 plus 32 it comes to 44. And here for water, for hydrogen, 2 hydrogen means 2, 1 oxygen means 16, so 16 into 2. Okay, sorry, it's plus here, so 16 plus 2 it is 18, and two molecules are there, so 18 into 2. So 32 into 2, how much it will come? 64. And for 18 into 2 it's come to 36. So now if you add them, so 16 plus 64, how much it comes? It comes to 80. And if you add on this side, how much it is? It is 44 plus 36. 44 plus 36, how much is the product side mass? So it is also comes to 80. Fine. So you can see here that the total mass of the reactants is always equal to the total mass of the product side. Both comes 80 and 80. Okay. So in this way we can prove the law of conservation of mass. Now let us solve one of the problems here. You can see that 0.0976 grams of magnesium is heated in air, so it gives 0.161 grams of magnesium oxide. Fine. So this is the reaction that when magnesium combines with oxygen, it gives magnesium oxide. So for magnesium it is given, mass is given. For magnesium oxide it is also given. Now we have to find for oxygen. So what we will do, we will take this magnesium mass on the other side and subtract it. So 0.161 grams minus this, so you will get this much of the mass of oxygen. Fine. So using this law of conservation of mass, we can find the mass of any of the reactant or the mass of the product also. Fine. So this is one of the problem. Now let us see another problem here, that silicon dioxide, SiO2, right? Silicon dioxide is made up of silicon and oxygen, and it contains 46.7% by mass of silicon, right? So when silicon dioxide is formed, 46.7% is silicon. Now question is, with what mass of oxygen with will 10 grams of silicon combine? You have to find the mass of oxygen if 10 grams of silicon is used. Okay, so now see, it is given in percentage, right? So silicon dioxide contains 46.7% silicon. So if we take, now when you are taking in percentage, that means total we can take 100 grams suppose, right? So if 100 grams of silicon dioxide is there, okay, so out of that 46.7 grams is silicon. Why we have taken 100? Because it is in percent given, so we can take directly, assume is at 100 grams. So out of 100 grams of silicon dioxide, 46.7 grams is silicon. Okay, then how much will be oxygen? Now left portion will be oxygen only, so 100 minus this, so you will get 53.3 grams of oxygen. Fine. This is when 100 grams of silicon dioxide is used. Okay, in 100 grams the oxygen is 53.3, right? I will write like this. In 100 grams the oxygen is 53.3, and we have to find for 10 grams. Fine. For one, now you will find, so for one what it will be, 100 will be taken downside. Okay, and if you are finding for 10 grams now, so 10 will be multiplied now this side. Okay, this you do in mathematics. 53, so what is the calculation now? 53 upon 100 into 10, right? So the answer comes to 5.33 grams. So very simple mathematical calculations are involved in the numericals, but you must know the tricks how to find it out. So in this way, 5.33 gram of oxygen is used when 10 grams of silicon is combined. Fine. Now the another question is that in a chemical reaction, 150 grams baking soda mixture containing sodium bicarbonate and vinegar on heating gives 87 grams of CO2 gas. So what is given in the question, that baking soda mixture. Now baking soda is a reactant. When we are heating it, it is giving us a solid residue and CO2 is also produced. Okay. So according to the law of conservation of mass, now this is the reactant baking soda. And what are the products? A solid residue is formed and CO2 is also formed. Okay. So 87 grams of CO2. Now we all know that 150 gram baking soda means we know the reactant mass and we know the mass of CO2. We have to find for solid residue. So directly we can subtract. We know baking soda is 150 and carbon dioxide is 87. So we'll subtract from it and you will get the mass of the solid residue as 63 grams. Okay. Now let us move on to the next slide and see the next law, that is law of definite proportion or constant composition. Okay, so you can call it as law of definite proportion or you can call it as law of constant composition. Okay, means what? Now this law is given by J.L. Proust in 1799. So according to this law, a chemical compound is always made up of same elements combined together in a fixed proportion by mass. Okay, means whenever, suppose water is the compound, HO2 is the compound. Now whenever H2O is formed, always hydrogen and oxygen will be used and the proportion and the mass by which they are combining will also be the same. Right, like always two hydrogen atoms will combine with one oxygen atom to form H2O. Never it will be HO2, right? Or whenever CO2 is formed, then one carbon and two oxygen will combine by mass and they will form CO2 only. So whenever a chemical compound is formed, same elements are used and they always combine in a fixed proportion. Right? So this is the law of definite proportion or constant composition. Okay. Now you can see here that carbon dioxide can be prepared by any one method. You can see here that different methods are given how carbon dioxide is formed. Four methods are given, but you will always find that the formula of CO2 is same in all the cases. One carbon, two oxygen, one carbon, two oxygen, right? So this is the law of definite proportion. Okay, means carbon atomic weight is 12 and O2's atomic weight is 32. So always they will combine in this ratio 12 is to 32 to form CO2. Fine. So this is the law. Now, now you can see here that as law of constant proportion is true, it helps to calculate the percent of any element given in the compound, right? Now suppose the formula is CO2 and now I want to know the percentage of carbon in CO2. How much percent carbon is present in it? Okay, so there is a formula to find the percent of the element in a compound. How we can find? So the formula is mass of the element for which we are finding. Suppose I am finding for carbon, so I will put the mass of carbon upside and then mass of the compound downside. The complete mass of CO2 will be taken as denominator and into 100. Okay, so that will give you the percent of the element in the compound. Mass of that element upon mass of the total compound multiply by 100 gives you the percent of the element in the compound. Okay, suppose you are finding for carbon, so here you will take the mass of carbon. If you are finding for oxygen, you will take the mass of oxygen here to get its percentage. Okay, so what is law of definite proportion? It says that a compound is always composed of the same elements and the elements are combining in the same percentage or same ratio. Fine. Now there is one example also to see here, that this molecule is ethyl alcohol. Okay, ethyl alcohol C2H6 and O. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 and 6H. Now you can see here that two atoms of carbon are present. We are finding the total weight now, total mass here. So two atoms of carbon. For one carbon I told you it is 12, right? For two it will be 24 then. Then hydrogen, there are 6 atoms. Okay, and for one hydrogen it is 1. So for 6 atoms it will be 1 into 6, 6. Then oxygen is 1. So one oxygen is 16. Okay, so it will 16 only. And when you add these, the total mass of the molecule, this molecule's total mass comes to 46 grams per mole. 46, right? Now if I want to find the percentage, now you can see here three different elements are present: carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Now if I want to find the percentage of these, the formula will be mass of the element upon mass of the total compound into 100, as we have studied here, right? So suppose I am now finding for carbon first of all. So what I will do, take mass of the element. So I am finding for carbon, I will take the mass of the carbon here upside. So 2 were there, so we find it as 24. So 24 upon what is the mass of the total compound? It is 46. So 24 upon 46 into 100, so the percent comes to 52%. Then for hydrogen, 6 is the mass taken, so 6 upon 46 into 100, so it comes to 13%, right? Then by weight of oxygen, so it is 16 upon 46 into 100, it comes to 35%. So using that formula we can find the percent by weight of each of the elements. Now the next one is Dalton's atomic theory. So in Dalton's atomic theory, according to this theory, all the matter is made up of small particles, and these particles are called as atoms. Okay, this is the first point. Then second point is that atoms are indivisible particles. According to this theory, those particles, those atoms are indivisible. They cannot be divided into further small parts. They cannot be created. They cannot be destroyed. Then atoms of a given element are identical in mass and chemical properties. Like suppose the atom is of oxygen, so all the atoms of oxygen will be same and they have the same chemical properties. Then atoms of different elements are different. Like atom of oxygen and atom of carbon will be different, and they have different masses also, and they have different properties also. Then atoms combine in the ratio of small whole numbers to form compounds. Whenever atoms combine together, they make the compounds. Okay. Then the relative number and kinds of atoms are constant in a given compound. Okay. In a given compound, the number of atoms is always constant, is always the same. Like in CO2, C will be 1, oxygen will be 2 always. Okay. So this is the postulate. These are some of the points of Dalton's atomic theory. Now, what are the drawbacks of Dalton's atomic theory? So, according to what are the drawbacks is that an atom is no more be considered as indivisible. According to Dalton's atomic theory, atom is indivisible. But now we know that atom can be divided into small particles. So this is a drawback. This is the limitation. Okay. So here the Dalton's atomic theory comes false. Okay. So an atom is no more be considered as indivisible as it can be divided further into protons, neutrons and electrons. So here this is the failure of this theory. Then according to Dalton, the atoms of the same elements are similar. However, the atoms of some elements vary in their mass and densities. We know about isotopes. Okay, isotopes. So, what is according to Dalton's atomic theory, that atoms of a particular element are all same, but this is always not true. There are isotopes whose masses are also different, like hydrogen. Hydrogen has three isotopes. Okay, H1, then H2 and H3. So there are three isotopes. There are hydrogen exist in three different forms. So they have different masses and they have different densities also. So atoms have isotopes also. So here also Dalton's atomic theory proves wrong. Okay, like carbon has two isotopes, carbon 12 and carbon 14. But what the Dalton's atomic theory said, that an element, atoms of one element are all same. So here also there is a failure of Dalton's atomic theory. So these are the two drawbacks also which you have to remember. Okay, so we have come to the summary point. So we have learned about atoms and molecules, then the laws of conservation of mass and law of constant proportion, then Dalton's atomic theory, its postulates and its drawbacks. Okay, so this is about the video today. So read from your textbook, and all of you stay home and stay safe.